Community Access Unlimited is proud to be serving New Jersey for over 40 years. We support individuals with disabilities and youth at risk to achieve their goals within the community. Through comprehensive supports, CAU serves more than 4,000 individuals and families throughout the year, and that number continues to grow. From affordable and accessible housing to education and life skills training, our services allow our members to live independent and meaningful lives. With over 200 housing units owned by CAU in Union County, we offer just about every kind of living accommodation on the market. Our direct support staff are trained to provide assistance with daily living, complex behaviors, and medical needs.
Is the Transitional Opportunities Program under Community Access Unlimited. It's where we offer all of our youth services, including our residential support services. So within all of our programs, we provide a lot of independent living skills trainings based off of the person's individual plan, so their support plan will kind of drive the services that they will be receiving within the program. A lot of the things that they work on are self-sufficiency goals as part of their treatment planning, counseling, help with education, tutoring services, as well as finding the appropriate counseling or employment services that they're looking for depending on what their specific goals are.
Our organization remains diligent in COVID-19 safety and screening throughout all our programs to help keep our members and staff healthy. We look forward to serving you and your family. Call us today to discover the CAU Advantage at 908-354-3040 or visit us on our website at caunj.org.
So I don't need to use the microphone. The mic is right here, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's double mic'd up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. All right. So I can stand here and I can have my subject.
Or actually, right here, it's fine.
Yeah. The lighting is it kind of sucks here. You know.
Yeah, I can make some adjustments on my end, like mic going out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like what you'll see is going in, a little dark, going out.
It's gonna look fine.
Get the mask.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks. Okay.
So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for what you're about to do. So let's get started with this roundtable discussion. And for this to work, we need your participation. I'm going to ask you some questions, and however these questions hit you, we will take time to get your responses and get your thoughts, and hopefully your thoughts will inspire and trigger response. I like response better than reaction because reaction is always negative. No such thing as a positive reaction. Response is positive though. So are our microphones in position? Are our microphones ready to do business? Well, like y'all get on out there among the proletariat, as they would say in some parts of the world, as I prepare to ask this first question. Think about it for a second and just raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you as fast as possible for your response. And let's begin right here. And by the way, you can see what these questions are. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them, but they're in your program on page 4. And we're going to start with question number 6 on page 4. And it's basically what this whole endeavor is all about. Personally, what does fatherhood mean to you, and how has it shaped your life and identity as a man? Don't be bashful, don't be shy. What does fatherhood mean to you, and how has it shaped your life and identity as a man?
So for me, fatherhood is just so important. Not being raised by my dad, and fortunately, I was able to get to know him later on in life before he passed away. But that's one of the reasons why I initially wanted to write my first book, because fatherhood was so important to me. And as I grew and showed that I could be the best father that I could be, I wanted to spread that to others. First of all, my children, and then also to the community at large, because I'm in the firm belief that 2-parent households makes a big difference. So if fathers are kept in the household, we can thus strengthen our communities. And as a result of that, we can then build not only our own individual families and our own individual communities, but society as a whole. But if we're not focusing on being a good father and just, unfortunately, being selfish and just looking at our own accolades or our own self-interest, then we bring children into the world and then they don't have any direction. So just being able to give direction to our offspring, be a positive example within our family and within our communities.
Thank you for that response. On a personal note, while I always had a mother and a father and knew who they were, I didn't find out who my real parents were until I was 52 years old, and found out I was one of 8 children and got to spend time with and meet my mother and my father, my birth mother and my father. And it was a very interesting story that they have, and a very interesting story that led to my birth and what my birth meant to the greater family. And because of that, as I told you before, I have 4 children. I have 7 grandchildren, 2 by marriage. And out of that experience, I have imparted to my kids that you need to let these kids know who their family is, know where they come from. Family is important because it is the bedrock, the root of who you really are. And while I had marvelous parents that stood in the gap until the day I was able to meet my real parents, I'm the man I am now. But going forward, I want them to know that we come from something, we're about something, and family is of utmost importance for all of us. So what does it mean, that fatherhood thing? What does it mean to you, and how has it shaped your life and identity as a man? I got some young brothers here. Let's get a microphone over here real quick. Come on, Julian. These Union County College brothers, they got something to say. I feel it. Come on.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elijah Saunders from County College. My major is business marketing. And I like the question that was asked today. Now, for me, I unfortunately didn't grow up with a father. I was raised by a single mother. But she showed me a lot as far as what it means to be a man, what required me to take care of the household, and a lot of other life lessons I learned in my time. However, I have a big brother. My ride or die, alive and deaf. His name's Isaiah Fonzie, go by a lot of other names. And before I came to Rolway Roselle, he was like my father figure. Showed me what it means to be a man, integrity, what it means to actually own accountabilities, learn from others, have better role models in your circle as far as men in your life. And I was 18, learning all this. I was very just thrown to the mix. But right now, as I'm 20, I tell him to this day, like, look, I know we've been going through a lot, but you're probably the best role model I have in my life. And right now I'm in college, learning how to better myself and everything. I now see myself as my own role model as far as a father figure that I could be for myself and a man I could try to grow to be at the end of the day. But I truly owe my mom and my brother in the day as far as the growth of person. Thank you.
Thank you. We got time for one more response before we move on to the next question. Let's hear from that gentleman right there. What does fatherhood mean to you, and how has it shaped your life and identity as a man?
God bless you. Good afternoon. Fatherhood means me being consistent in my work ethic so that my daughter can see that I'm maintaining stability in the family. Equally as much, if not more than that, is to be an encourager on a consistent basis. My daughter wanted to be a dancer. And so my encouraging her was easy because when I grew up in the 50s and the 60s. And back then, for these older brothers, you know, you're either going to be a dentist, a doctor, a social worker, a teacher. But if you're trying to be dramatic and you think you can sing and you think you can entertain, I was the ugly duckling in the family. So my people never showed up to any concerts, and then they, excommunicated me. So I had to learn how to encourage myself. And I swore if I was ever going to get married and had a child, that I was going to do the exact opposite. And so I consistently made sure that my daughter knew that she was a genius and that she could do exceedingly abundantly above most everybody else. And I told her, I said, 90% of the time you want to be in entertainment, you're going to get turned down. But I encouraged her over and over. Now today, she's a professional dancer. She got her head screwed on tight. She got a work ethic. So fatherhood means a number of things, but what I want to share today is being consistent in your love for your kid, being an example of someone who's consistent in their work ethic, and making sure that your kid knows, your child knows how much you love them, and encouraging them so that they can be the best that they can possibly be. Thank you.
Thank you. The message of support, the endeavor of support, that is important to all the young people coming up, to know that somebody believes in them, somebody that looks like them, somebody that they're from. believes in what they're doing. So I'm going to move on to the next question. It's question 5 in your program. And this might be something that some of the younger people can chew on a little bit more and focus on. What steps are you currently taking, or planning to take to proactively prepare for your future, both personally and professionally? What steps are you currently taking or planning to take to proactively prepare for your future, both personally and professionally? Now, some of us who have hair that look like mine, we prepare for a different kind of future. But there are some people in the room that got their whole life in front of them, and we'd like to hear from some of you. Don't be bashful, don't be shy. What steps are you taking? We already heard about a young man who is going on to the next step in his education. What are you doing? What have you thought about doing? Yes, sir. Microphone's coming right behind you.
I'm here. So this is prime example of one of the things that I'm doing, planting seeds, building and nurturing relationships, realizing that I cannot do anything by myself. So pulling the resources that I'm going to need. I have no idea who exactly can help me do whatever it is at any point that I need, but I know it's in this room. If not directly, then indirectly. If it's not you, it's the person that you know that can help. And as long as we have common goals, interests, and missions, that's the only way we're going to be able to make it there. So showing up and pouring in and paying attention. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. My good friend, Reverend Antonio Porter.
I would like to say, I'd like to answer both questions if I could, because my coming up, I didn't have consistency in the household. And it was a separation between me and my father being his firstborn. And that inconsistency came when I had my firstborn. But I thank God for a church family. I'm a former member of Fountain Baptist Church in Summit, and now I'm the pastor of Friendship Baptist Church in Bayonne. And through the men's fellowship there, they helped me raise my son. And when I got difficulties, I went back to the men and they gave me guidance on how to discipline my son. Because I realized everything is not about a strapping, but it's about educating the child to look at their consequences and look at better ways they can process what they're going through. To get me where I'm at today, I'm now preparing and doing on a daily basis is preparing financial wealth for my children. I don't have anything, but I built up wealth that if I should die today or tomorrow, my children could be able to buy their first home cash. And I've explained this to them, that all I'm doing is putting money away that they will have something. But not only now, I have a son and a daughter, both grown, but on March 23rd, my first grandchild came. So now I'm looking at ways to invest for my grandchild, that I can give X amount of dollars in an investment to my grandchild, that she'll have all the money she needs to go to college once she becomes 18 years of age. So nobody taught me this, but I've been around men that have shared their experience, strength, and hope with me. And I took nuggets from them, and it's made my life better. I do find, and you see men sitting around me, these are men from the Friendship Baptist Church, that I'm trying to instill in them good fatherhood skills. I'm trying to strengthen their toolbox or their tool belt, that they'll have the tools they need to do to be better fathers. Because if they can be better and I can be better, we can be better men in the church. Because this is where I learned it from. I learned it from the church. And it was a good thing for me to go to church and then become involved in men's fellowship. And that's been just a blessing to me because I had other men that were future thinkers, and it made a difference for me. And I thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Antonio. I'd like to stay with this same question, but I'd just like to look at the other side of it. Because I know there's got to be a brother in here who had a grand plan, who did all those things. But somehow that plan got derailed and you had to find success another way. Is there any brother in here who can talk about that? How you didn't go from A to B to C to D, the linear path. You had to do a more global thing. You started out with A, but something happened in your life that took you to D, and then maybe came back to C and went to F, but somehow you made it all work out. Is any brother in here who can speak to that? Oh, all them hands is going up. Let's go back to the reverend's table one more time.
First, I want to say good day or good evening, good afternoon, however you want to call it. One of the main things that I had to do when I was coming up, and I had a father, and my dad was there. He taught me how to play baseball, catch a ball, and all those things. But I grew up in a neighborhood that I grew up down south. And I grew up in a neighborhood where all the fathers came together, and they called themselves a fathers club. And I didn't know what was going on. And some of the other guys that I grew up with, they didn't know what was going on either. But we didn't have to go outside somewhere else to find out how to play sports and things of that nature. They came together and they said, okay, we have sons, we have daughters that want to do something with their lives, and we can help them. What can you do? What can you do? What can you do? You know, so they got together and they formed what you call a club, and we had a sport for every season. Every season we had a sport. We had baseball, football, wrestling. Basketball. We had it all in this neighborhood. We had it all. We didn't have to go out there. You know, it was right here in the neighborhood. You know, and when I grew up, that was my train of thought. But when I got to get old enough to go to school and get my degree, I said, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to, be a father to somebody else other than my children. So when I went back home, there was, I couldn't seem to move up in the world, in the business world. I couldn't, I went to school. I went to North Carolina A&T, as a matter of fact, and I went through all of those tough times. Let me put it that way, with the riots and all that. But the Lord blessed me while I was able to get through all of that. And now, when I get back home, come back home after I finish, get my degree, I can't get a decent, I call it a decent job. I'm saying, I go to, when I say decent at that time, I couldn't go to an electric company and get in. They would always say, your resume is good, but, and then I tried to get into, I lived in a shipyard. I lived in Newport News in Hampton, and it was a shipbuilding and dry dock company. And I wanted to get into this apprentice program. I couldn't get into it. They wouldn't allow me to get in. They would always say, oh, your resume is nice. Oh, it's this and that and the other. But, we're not hiring right now. Or, and I said to myself, I was upset. I was really upset. I was ready to fight. But I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay focused. So I went from there, and I saw my cousin. I had a cousin that lived in New Jersey. And he was saying to me, well, why don't you come up here, man, see what you can do. Okay, I had to step out of my safety zone and go to somewhere I didn't know the people. All I knew was, just it was a pretty decent area. So I went and stayed with my cousin and my aunt and my uncle. I had some cousins there in here in New Jersey, and I just stayed focused. I stayed focused on what I wanted to do because I went to school for engineering, and I wanted to be in one of these large companies like public service or what was that? New Jersey Bell. And fortunately, I pushed myself out and I went to public service. And when I went there, you know, it was hard for me to, you know, I had my resume and everything all set. It was hard for me to get in there also. But by the grace of God, there was somebody there at that particular, in that area, okay, that knew that they knew what I wanted. And they sent me to this place. It was called Urban League. I didn't know what it was at the time, but Urban League was developing. And I got in there, and all of a sudden, I was able to get into this company called Public Service. I didn't know anything about public service, but I knew that I want to deal with electricity, electronics, because that was my field. That's how I grew up. You know, that was in my mind with regards to working with electricity and electronics. And I got into public service, and there I started working, and I moved up, I moved here, I moved there, et cetera, and I was able to retire. And thank God I retired after 30-some years. But the thing is that I want young people to know that don't limit yourself to one particular thing or one particular area or stay focused on what you want to do, and don't give up. Don't say, oh, well, you know, I can't do this, so I'm going to do this. Well, okay, you can do the other thing, but stay focused on what you want to do. That's the main thing. Stay focused. And that's all I have to say to you as far as that's concerned. Stay focused. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, stay focused on being that. Maybe you might not get it right away. Do something that, you know, you keep your livelihood going, but stay focused. That's the main thing, man. You got to stay focused, you know? And if you do that, you know, and say your prayers, you like when you go up as kids, you know, you say your prayers, you know, you talk to the Lord because you know there's somebody higher than you, there's a higher authority. And I'm not going to preach to you, but I just want you to know that. He helps you to stay focused.
Amen.
And once you do that, man, whatever you put your hands on, you know, people are going to see that there's a difference in you, you know, and you are going to be the one that they're going to look at. And that you just have to do that, you know. And that's my main word for you, man. Stay focused. Stay focused.
Stay focused. That brother right there in the gray hat, Julie. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to first say thank you, God, for bringing me here and bringing us together, because what we have here is something special. And I'm just so grateful that I'm here, because this isn't a mistake. This is divine. And the question that you asked, that you know, when we make plans or we start out one way, you know, God have a tendency to laugh, because I sat back before I set up. So when I was about 7 years old, right, I had both my parents, my mother and my father. I was spoiled. You know, my father gave me everything. I'm a junior. You know, and at 7 years old, I lost both my parents. I actually witnessed my father murder my mother. And what that did for me as a young man, you can only imagine or try to, right? So I went from having, you know, being spoiled and having both of my parents to losing them both. And you want to talk about suppressing and trauma and, you know, trying to figure it out as a young Black man. And I went to move with my grandmother. And, you know, she did her best. God rest her soul. You know, she did everything she can. And I could say it probably wasn't enough, but she did everything she could. So, you know, I'm someone's answer prayers. You know, I don't know who was praying for me, right? And it's not my position to question. But, you know, just as a young man trying to find myself, I was in the streets, you know, didn't have a curfew. My grandmother couldn't do nothing with me. I got kicked out of school in 8th grade. Never made it to high school, right? You know, I try to find my contentment in women. You know, I like to pride myself on being a women's man. I'm married now. But you know, always just looking. I was a seeker, just looking, man, looking for what was taken away from me, looking for, you know, guidance, looking for just seeking, and I seeked in a lot of the wrong places, man. And you know, by 25, I had 4 daughters. Right? So here you have it. I'm trying to figure it out. Now I'm 25 years old and I got 4 to raise. How I'm gonna do this? How I'm gonna figure it out? And you know, it was a community. You know, it was spaces like this. You know, I had a desire in my heart. I wanted to do better. I didn't know how to do better, right? So, but I looked at men and guys, and I'm like, man, I like what they have. You know, Cosby Show was big for me. You know what I mean? I kind of just always, I want to be like that to a degree. Want to be like that. And you know, I'm proud to say, man, that I went back to school. I just graduated my college degree. Yeah, I got my. Ironically, I got kicked out in 8th grade, but I got my degree in education. That's how God works, right? Pursuing a degree. I want to be a psychologist. I want to go back and help that young man that I once was, because I can relate to the youth. I see a lot. I can, man, you name it, I can relate, man. So through the grace of the Most High, man, in spaces like this and men like you, Mr. Miller, I don't know where you are. I'm getting emotional talking about you. The Project Achievement Program at Union College has done so much for me, man. So I'll say this, man. I want to end this, man. You're not doing as good as you think you're doing, but you're doing better than you're actually doing. You know what I mean? So don't be too hard on yourself. If you're going to beat yourself up, use a feather, because you're doing a lot better than you think you're doing. All right? And, you know, that was my little bit about myself, my story, man. It started out rocky, and through the grace of the Most High, man, I'm here now. You know, I homeowner, married with children, man. I got through the Most High. Thank you.
I would just like to share in terms of when I graduated from college, I wanted to go right to Wall Street, and I wanted to be a financial advisor. So when I got to Wall Street, I applied to a financial advisor position. And what they told me was, well, you don't have sales experience. You can't become an advisor. However, some of my counterparts who didn't necessarily look like me, they were given those opportunities. So what I did was I went and got sales experience based on them not actually giving me that opportunity. And in hindsight, me getting the sales experience opposed to being a financial advisor at the time was probably the better thing for me, because as I mentioned, well, my wife, first wife, she passed away in 1988. I graduated in 83. So if I'd had that financial advisor position at that time, it's a very difficult job to have. Having the sales experience and building the leadership skills was probably in my better interest. But then I always still wanted to be that financial advisor. So in 2006, I got recruited to Merrill Lynch. After a long career in sales and marketing, I was the president of the National Sales Network, Organization of African American Sales Professionals. In 2006, I got that dream job. In 2008, some of you may not know what happened, but a lot of you do know what happened. The global financial crisis happened. So my dream job was then taken away. Not through any fault of my own, but it was taken away. So I then had to figure out, well, what was I going to do? My youngest daughter was about to go to college. I had a mortgage. Fortunately, I saved enough money where I was able to, take some of my retirement money to keep my house, where a lot of people lost their house in those times. And then eventually I was able to transition back into the financial service industry after, starting a health and wellness business where I didn't make enough money to take care of my livelihood. And then I'm now that financial advisor that I had in terms of my dream job. And now I write about entrepreneurship. So I say that to say that you may have a plan and you may get derailed, or it may not be the timing right then and there. But as long as you stick to your aspirations, eventually God will put you in the place that He wants you to be to fulfill your God-given purpose.
Stay focused. Stay focused. Man plans, God laughs. See, this is that men's fellowship that Reverend Porter was talking about. This is just on a bigger level. But this is what men's fellowship is. We telling each other the stories of our lives, our stories, to help you on your journey. We're gonna move on to another question now. It's a good one. Matter of fact, when I walked in, we gotta get to this question. We're gonna do this. Question number 2 on page 4. As the world becomes increasingly interconnected through technology, how can fathers prepare their children to navigate this digital landscape responsibly and safely? What values and skills do you believe are important for you to instill in them? Chew on that for a second. Because we hearing all these stories about bullying and people being online and their lives getting changed. And I'm on Twitter now. I've been on there for a while, and I know sometimes I just have to turn that noise off. But the question is, as the world becomes increasingly interconnected through technology, how can fathers prepare their children to navigate the digital landscape responsibly and safely? What values and skills do you believe are important to instill in them?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I guess I could speak to this because I'm a new father. I have an 18-month-old. Love the little guy. He's running around right now with my wife. Challenge. It's a challenge. You know, sleepless night. So if anyone could give me advice on sleep, let me know. I guess I could speak to this question because I work in the tech space. And one thing I realized is that as fathers, you guys have to affirm your children because the world's not going to affirm your children. The world's not going to tell them who they can be, how they can break their limits, that they're loved, that they're appreciated, that they have a voice. That's not the world's not going to do that by design, especially in our social media where we live in a world of the haves and have-nots. Oh, people living their best life on TikTok. It's all staged. It's all fake. But you have to prepare your kids by giving them a skill set of being mentally tough in the world that they're headed to. Because the world's going to change, especially with this chat GPT and AI that's coming as we speak. So I guess a skill set you could really instill in your children is the values of that they're loved, that they're mentally aware of their surroundings, that they're affirmed in all aspects, especially before they go to school. Pray for your children. When they come home, pray for your children. Talk to them because bullying is real. It's terrible. I saw a story where this 10-year-old committed suicide because he was bullied, and the parents were relying on the school to act. But the school, they can only do so much with their limited resources. I mean, you know, we're cutting funds, and that's a whole other topic. But I guess as parents, you have to affirm your children constantly. Don't ever waver on that because, again, there's an opposing force out there that will do the job for you if you're not minding the gap, as like Nehemiah would say, he was minding the gap, building a wall. You have to affirm your children. You have to give them those values of that, hey, you're loved, you're appreciated, that you're going to be okay. Because if they don't have that skill set, which starts at home, they're going to go into the world and stumble in school, in the workplace. I had an issue where I noticed that I would have a problem with constructive criticism. And especially for my male supervisors, I'm like, why does that irk me so much? Why does that bother? Why does that get under my skin? I'm working, doing my best at this job, and it's still not good enough. I would internalize constructive criticism from my male leaders or from male supervisors because I didn't get that from my father. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to deal with not adversity, but like, you know, like when you talk to your son and you tell them right from wrong. My father was not really involved in that aspect. You know, my mom and father, they split up, there was a means. And before I became a father, I realized I had to start working on myself, as some of the other people who spoke on earlier, because I knew if I didn't want to bring that baggage to his, you know, view of being a father, because things are generational, whether they're good or bad, they're generational. So teaching, I guess, by me working on myself and mentally, I guess, being aware of why do I suffer from this deficit of constructive criticism is because I was unaffirmed in certain aspects. So when a male colleague would say, you know, Kenny, you could communicate more, you could do this. I would internalize it in a negative way. I'm definitely grown since then, but I'm seeing that me being mentally aware and affirming myself allows me to affirm my son. Even though he's like 18 months, he's watching everything that I do. I get into an argument, you know, or disagreement with someone, he's watching how I respond. You know, I don't just fly off the rails, you know, I communicate with people. So emulating the values that I want my children to have is something that's done every day in the household. So when he grows up and he's out in the job or wherever, he's like, you know what? I can respond the way my father did, if not even better, because he's seeing it modeled at home. But again, my wife and I, we continue to affirm our son because, again, social media is real. It will come for your kids if you're not equipping them, if you're not providing that foundation that they need, you know, because if your children know who they are, who is some stranger to tell them who they are? You know what I mean? They'll be like, no, that's a lie. My mother and father or my father figures or my aunties or big mamas, they've instilled that in me. And those skill sets, which they are skill sets because not everyone has that, will allow your children to navigate this new digital world that we're already in. It's not a theory, it's actually practical. It's really happening. So I guess in short, affirm your children, give them the tools that they need to check in mentally, check in spiritually, and pray and be connected because, again, the world's not going to teach them. Social media is not going to teach them that. And even dealing with envy, dealing with all those things that just get in the way of, I guess, values of your values or that contradict your values in the space of the world that's to come. And I just want to touch on one more thing where I think you said with the last question that even though some of you gentlemen may feel like you're at the end stage or in the later seasons of your life, there's still so much you can give, especially to the next generation. Don't rule yourself out based on your age. You know what I mean? That wisdom, that life experience that you have, you could sit down with the next generation and say, well, here's how I handled a situation on the job. Well, here's how I handled a situation when I was accused of doing something that I didn't do. You know, that life experience that you have is invaluable. You can't put a monetary value on that. So you may not have trust fund or whatever those material things to give, but your life experience, your wisdom, your presence is way more important. So it's needed, especially in our community. So that's my 2 cents, and thanks.
Thank you. That's why we old gray hairs are here. Many years ago, Smokey Robinson did a song that pertains to life in digital media. This is long before digital media was a thing. It wasn't a hit song, but the name of the song was "You Only Build Me Up to Tear Me Down." And that's basically what social media is all about. My brother over there. I'm sorry, right there in the pink. I'm sorry, forgive me.
All right. I agree with everything he said, but I feel like you also need to attack it from the other side of it. You need to prepare your kids not to be the aggressor online. So you need to teach them empathy, you need to teach them tactfulness, and you need to teach them courage to where if they see someone bullying or victimizing another child, that they have the courage to stick up for that child. I'm huge on that, and I feel like that kind of get neglected because everyone is worried about their child becoming a victim and don't consider that their child could be the victimizer at the same time. So I just think we need to teach those things also.
I would say discernment and insouciance. So being able to know what they should let in and what they shouldn't let bother them. One of the points that the other young man made over there, being strong in knowing who they are, how they identify with themselves and being unshakable in that, and knowing this is just a game. Like it's entertainment. You're presenting who you are and putting out a beacon to your tribe, and that's all you're concerned with is giving love back to those who actually show love to you and showing your tribe who you are so they can identify with you. Everybody else isn't your concern anyway.
It kind of goes back to, and not kind of, but it goes back to a thought that our keynote speaker, Nathan Evans, talked about in his speech. Grace. Be ready to give it not only to yourself, but be ready to give it to others. That'll help in your navigation if you approach it from the standpoint of grace. I think we have time for one more question, and it's another good one. How have societal expectations and stereotypes influenced your understanding and approach to fatherhood? How have societal expectations and stereotypes influenced your understanding and approach to fatherhood? Don't be bashful, don't be shy, because I know you got an opinion on it. Because the world still views folks that look like us as the demon, as the enemy. We're the boogeyman. Everything you want to be afraid of, just look at that black man sitting there, and he's what you're afraid of. And we still have to navigate and teach and live in this environment, in this atmosphere. How have societal expectations and stereotypes influenced your understanding and approach to fatherhood?
Me, I'm not a father, but I can speak on societal expectations for me. So as of recently, I'm back in college, but prior to that, I went to the entertainment industry. I am an actor, and one thing that I went through, my mentor, Savion Glover, he told me that you're going to go into your professional debut on the road with me. And one thing I can tell you is I have to prepare them for what's coming after me. You are a tall, dark-skinned male, and the people that you're performing in front of don't speak your language. They don't know you, don't know anything about you. Your job is to be seen, heard, and understood as an actor. But it's also speaking to that of a person. So prior to any of this, the word sacrifice came up a lot in school, in conversation. I didn't know what it meant. I'm still trying to figure out what it means to this day in certain aspects. But when I was on that stage and I can only see the two front rows, but understand that beyond that light, that there's millions of people watching me. It made me understand that sacrifice is doing what you don't want to do, but doing it as you love it. Understanding that there are better days and that God can bless you in many different ways. So prior to any of this, I couldn't walk, I couldn't speak. I had a complete disfigurement of my spine for 2 years, and I didn't know what was next. I thought I was dead. They took me home, and I'm sitting there watching TV with my mother, and then suddenly I get the cold sweats, my vision goes blurry, and in 10 seconds, I'm completely blind and deaf in both ears. Can't see, can't hear. Doctor says, Kyle, if you don't eat anything, you're going to die. I eat a sandwich, and both things come back instantly. I can't work out. I can't do sports. Two things that I thought defined me as a person. And it's two things that I understand that athletes go through a lot. Your sport defines you, and the way that you perform on the field is who you are. And that couldn't be further from the truth at one point. I'm sitting there watching TV, and I'm watching a movie, a lot of people don't know this, but I dance as well. Couldn't move past this degree. Couldn't go anywhere else. But I forgot I could use my hands. So those who know what tutting is, I started doing that. That turned into torso movements, then to leg movements. Then before I knew it, I was able to have complete mobility of my body again. Then from there, I told my aunt, hey, I want to go into acting. How do I do that? And she says, I got an opportunity for you. I go to NJ Pack in Newark, and I meet Savion. I perform for him on stage. Then I watch him perform with Dee Dee Bridgewater. And now I am currently having my professional debut as an actor in theater in California in July this year. So, thank you. But I wanted to say that to say this. Societal expectations as a Black man and the stereotypes that come with it are astronomical. They're limitless, they're speechless. But one thing that has helped me is my support system. God himself and my mother, of all people. So I wanted to say this. God bless you all. Thank you, I love you, and just thank you for this opportunity for being here.
God bless you, everyone. I'm just grateful to be here with you all today. I can identify with several stories. The young man talked about seeing his mother and father murdered. Being as a young man, I didn't have a father. I wasn't that fortunate. I grew up without a father. I was born in February '66. My dad died in December '66. So I only had a mother. So I used to get upset with my friends because they had their father and their father would do things with them. I didn't have that. But I'm saying that to say this. I've overcome challenges in my life because I had a heavenly Father. This is the truth. Because I knew someone somewhere was watching over me. I overcame a 25-year drug addiction with heroin and smoking a pipe. And I overcame these things only by the grace of God through support from the church, different organizations, AA and NA. These organizations, they help you. But today, this is my son George. He's here, and I believe I raised him to be a young man of integrity and honesty, and to live to the glory of God. But society will tell me that because I don't have this and I don't have that, that I'm not a decent father or I'm not making it in society. But that's not the truth. I have an inner peace. I have an inner peace because I believe who God is and who God say I am. And that makes up the difference for me, my faith in God and getting better in the process. There is a process. There is a place that we're trying to get to be better at. And God has helped me to get to do that process by leaning on the community of faith and lean on your community out here. You have community, you have people out here that will help you, young men that will help you and encourage you and steer you in the right direction. I'm getting better. I never went to any mental health, but here today, that's how I know I'm getting better, because I'm here today. I've learned that you can go get mental health and get a mental health checkup. I'm going to get a mental health checkup. I'm getting better. You talked about speaking positive over your life. I speak positive over my life every day. I speak positive. Why live in the negative when you can think up and live in the positive? It's better to want to be than to not be, to not want to be. So I'm getting better in the process. If I can say anything to encourage anybody, we're getting better in the process. God bless you. Thank you for letting me share.
So this event has been marvelously run and mastered by Shakira, Julian, Courtney, their team, their crew. Give them a round of applause. And it is only fitting that with all this testosterone in the room and all of this stuff that is being said by us about us, I think it would be appropriate that we hear from a woman about us and what we've been talking about for the last 4 hours. It's Shakira.
Well, first of all, this round table is so beautiful and so healing. And I'm honored to be a fly on the wall, to just see the range of men from the young bros to the elders. It is a beautiful thing. And while it's quality over quantity, and what we're doing here, what you've done here, is not just impacting you individually, but it's going to impact your community and it's actually going to shift the world. So I just want to let you know how impactful what you're doing right now is, the intention of it. Take it in. You said it here. It's not by accident. This is so powerful if you really just take it in how powerful this is right here. And it was done with intention for there to be a conversation amongst the men, not just thought leaders talking at people, but the answer is in the room, per Ron Thomas. He said, no, the answer is in the room. But I just wanted to share from a woman's perspective. This question didn't say as a father, so I said I could answer this one. But how have societal expectations and stereotypes influenced my understanding and approach to fatherhood? So I am married, I have 3 children, but really through the societal stereotypes and expectations, I just expected all men to be tall, dark, handsome, and rich, right? Like, well, you know, that's what it is. And you can pick anything up. And if somebody comes over to me, you're going to punch them in the face and all of the things. And while theoretically that could be something, the reality is that that's not the case for a lot of reasons. And even if you theoretically had all of those things, it definitely doesn't mean that you have knowledge, wisdom, understanding, power, righteousness, integrity, which are the real things that are necessary in life. And so I would just say, as a woman, to the women that are in here, to have an open mind and recognize what's valuable and what's fool's gold. And then also to the men, to have the bravery to have those conversations with the women in your lives around any challenges that you may have, that we may be able to provide you with support to. Don't be afraid to share those things. I know in my own personal marriage, there were times that my husband may have been struggling, that he didn't want to share that with me, and I would have been more than happy to actually help him to get through that. So really using your union and communicating with the women in your lives is something that can help us also to break through these stereotypes, because if not, we think y'all don't cry, and we think that you don't get upset, and we think that you don't have emotions, and we think that you can solve everything, you don't need help, and we know that that's just not true. So that was a stereotype I had that I had to overcome. But again, I just wanted to say from a place of love, this is so beautiful. Peace and honor and love to everybody in this room. And thank you to the Fatherhood Initiative for trusting me with another conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakira. So, in a couple of minutes, we're all going to go upstairs to the theater to take what we call a legacy photo. We call it the walk and talk. So, some of you gray hairs, get with some of these young fellas on the way up, and if there's anything we can impart to any of them, anything they can impart to any of us, because we still learning too, it would be greatly appreciated and go a long way toward what we came here to try and achieve today. So I've just been informed that our legacy photo is going to be outside and not in the theater, which is even better. But just before we go, I know a lot of people of my generation may have heard what I'm about to reference. Music has been big in my life. You know, the messages from some of the greatest artists ever to trod the planet. You can still hear their songs and their words in your ears. And in 1972, I was 21 years old. Timing was perfect. Wasn't quite 21, but the timing was perfect. And I heard this song by an artist named Oscar Brown Jr. The album is entitled Moving On, and the song, it's about 4.5 minutes long, it's called A Lady's Man. And it starts out as back as a boy, I long to be the fellow all women love to see, and have them all consider me a lady's man. But the song ends with, therefore, my boy, enjoy your prime until your fateful date with time, when you can claim no longer, I'm a lady's man. There's a day coming where y'all gonna be on this side of the room. You heard Nathan talk about Pop Pop. With God's grace, Pop Pop is in all of y'all's future. I never thought I'd be standing here talking about 5 grandkids. Never. Never thought I'd be standing here talking about my 70th birthday, which is coming up in a couple of months. That's all through the grace of God. He will never leave you nor forsake you. I'm a witness. I saw it in my life. I still see it every day. And I hope some of you young brothers got that message today, and that some of us older brothers know how to receive whatever message you have for us. Let's go outside, take our legacy picture. When we come back in, we'll hear some closing remarks from Brother Ron Richardson. We're going to hear from Ron Richardson right now. Brother Richardson, the podium is yours. Give him a hand.
First of all, there's not much more to say, but I'd like to just take a chance to ask every member of the Fatherhood Committee to please stand, including you, Bill Stevens. These are the brothers that have made this all possible. And Bill Stevens, we're glad to see him, a charter member who has been away from us for a while, but he's here today. We're glad to see you, Bill. God bless you. I would like to just, first of all, just say, we should give our MC a great big hand, Mr. Dockery. He has done a fantastic job. We also need to give our coordinator a big hand, because she has been the one that suggested to us to make this a brunch instead of our breakfast. And Shakira, give Shakira and her group a hand. This is the first time we had total technology. You don't see our man here, but Christian is our technology man. He's not here, but give him a hand. All of our presenters that are here today and around the room, all of our speakers that are here today, we love you all. We grant you peace and prosperity, and we just thank you. Once again, I want to thank everyone in this room for participating in our group discussion. That was great. You need to all give yourselves a big round of applause. To stay abreast of what the Union County Fatherhood is doing, we have a group of men, we have a few brothers that are here working with us, and we're not a lot, but we need membership. We need brothers to come on board and work with us. And if you look at the bag you received, at the bottom of the bag, we have a website on there. Check us out, see what we're doing. If you want to be a part of this membership, give our president, give any one of us a call. We'd be glad to talk to you.
Am I right, Ron? Positively. So without further ado, God bless you all. Thank you for coming. We love you. We appreciate you. Without you, where would we be? Okay? So we need you. Don't forget, look for us in October. October, we'll be doing our second event of the year, and we'll be sending out messages. So with your emails we have and looking at our website, we would like for you to attend that and be with us. All right? God bless.
Come on, pop in here. Stand right there. Watch it. See you? Yeah, we can see you.
Out there and take our legacy picture. Come on. Let's go.
All right, tell me your name.
My name is Junaid.
Don't worry about that.
Just look at me. That's great. Yeah.
My name
You
is
go right outside the store right over here.
And tell me now, you're a
here.
recipient of a scholarship? Okay, what is that scholarship?
The Jack Kent
No, where you want? Right out here?
Transfer Scholarship.
Right out here.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Step
What
this
is
way.
that?
So I was graciously awarded
Walk
to
this
$55,000 a year to any school of my choosing to
Right.
further my education.
And you're going to go where now? To
Either the University of Michigan or Northeastern, I think.
okay, all right. How did this all come about?
I found out about this from, there was an alumni who won it last year at my school. And I heard about it, but I thought, no way. Absolutely not.
Right.
And a week before the application was due, I wrote all the essays. I sent it in, and by the grace of God, they have changed my life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So now you just recently graduated from Union
College, yes.
College. It used to be Union County College, and you're looking to pursue the field of engineering.
Yes, mechanical engineering specifically.
Okay. So kind of what are you kind of envisioning for yourself as
Automotive all the way.
Really?
I love cars.
You want to design cars?
Yes, but like drawing is not me.
No.
I'll be very satisfied with some sort of component, an engine, or suspension, tires, wheels. Good enough for me.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
As long as
Okay.
I can work with him, I'm happy.
So what are your thoughts about this fatherhood conference today? What does it mean to you?
Well, society has a lot of negative stereotypes towards Black fathers. I didn't really grow up with a father, and I'm here to break the stereotype. I want better for myself and my community, and I hope that I can be the change. Like we were always saying, it's generational. That generation starts with me. I got a responsibility. I got a job to do. And
Daryl, this is all right. Okay. All right.
I'm here to do it.
So, would you recommend to your colleagues to attend this conference next year?
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can't learn here. No information is bad information to me. And I learned a lot today. We talk a lot about this stuff in Project Achievement in Union College, but I think just about anyone can benefit from this.
So we're expecting to see you back here next June with a positive report on what school you're enrolled in and how you did your first year.
Absolutely.
All right.
Catch a flight.
All right.
This is my backyard anyway. Kane is my backyard.
Okay.
I'll be here.
All right. Very good. Congratulations. All right.
Let's go outside for that picture.
Yeah, let's go outside.
My back.
Okay, you guys start heading out.
Here we go now. Okay, Jim.
Community Access Unlimited is proud to be serving New Jersey for over 40 years. We support individuals with disabilities and youth at risk to achieve their goals within the community. Through comprehensive supports, CAU serves more than 4,000 individuals and families throughout the year, and that number continues to grow. From affordable and accessible housing to education and life skills training, our services allow our members to live independent and meaningful lives. With over 200 housing units owned by CAU in Union County, we offer just about every kind of living accommodation on the market. Our direct support staff are trained to provide assistance with daily living, complex behaviors, and medical needs.
Is the Transition Opportunities Program under Community Access Unlimited. It's where we offer all of our youth services, including our residential support services. So within all of our programs, we provide a lot of independent living skills trainings based off of the person's individual plan, so their support plan will kind of drive the services that they will be receiving within the program. A lot of the things that they work on are self-sufficiency goals as part of their treatment planning, counseling, help with education, tutoring services, as well as finding the appropriate counseling or employment services that they're looking for depending on what their specific goals are.
Our organization remains diligent in COVID-19 safety and screening throughout all our programs to help keep our members and staff healthy. We look forward to serving you and your family. Call us today to discover the CAU Advantage at 908-354-3040 or visit us on our website at caunj.org.
So I can tell you things that I would have loved to have known when I was growing up that I know now. Hindsight's 20/20. But when it comes to saving and accumulating wealth, one of the things I learned is it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you save that determines how wealthy you are later in life. And some of those things, such as paying yourself first, is one of the tips that I learned late in life. And if you do that early in life, you'll accumulate a lot more wealth over time. So what does that look like? When you get your paycheck at the end of the week, you take 25% of that net pay and you put that in a savings account. Pay yourself first. Then what's left is what you have to pay your bills and your disposable income. What you pay, the key is not to over leverage yourself over the time. A lot of people fall into the trap of getting a lot of credit card debt, and your savings then gets eaten up by the interest you pay on your credit card debt. So I would say you want to pay yourself first. You want to minimize, if not eliminate, credit card debt. And any retirement plans, whether they be IRAs, 401ks at your work, you want to make sure you take full advantage of it, especially 401k, because 401k is the only time you're ever going to get free money from anybody.
So my biggest advice may seem trivial, but what I've learned in life, both professionally as well as personally, is the small expenses are the ones that really hurt you the most, because they're the ones that you don't pay attention to. It's buying a cup of coffee here or there, or going out to the store and impulse buying, you know, a shirt. Actually, if you take all those little expenses over a month or a year, you'll see they're much larger and have more of an impact on you financially than the big expenses. Because the big expenses are known, right? And that you could apply to, you know, your personal life or business, when when the car purchase or the college tuition, or some of these larger expenses. But the small expenses are the ones that add up to very large. And if you have the discipline to take some of that and say, and spoil yourself, of course, but take some of those small expenses and not spend them and put them on the side and save it, you'll see over a month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, those expenses, now those savings become larger dollars. Now the key is, as you watch that money grow in a savings account, you need to have the discipline not to touch it, and find other means to, save up for the expenses that you want to spend.